I was working in corporate America. I had a very long commute from Brooklyn to New Jersey, and then grew to almost 2 hours one-way driving. I did not want to work in a corporate office forever. I didn't want to be stuck to like the corporate handcuffs. I was pregnant about 7-8 months. Big. My commute that time took 4 hours to get home. And it was from that, the desperation of I don't want this to be my life. Even if you only bring home $1 and you save a penny, you have to save what you're earning. So in the 2 years that I started Journey to Launch and then quit, we had invested and saved $169,000 across our retirement accounts, investment accounts, and savings accounts.
Where was the money coming from in that was allowing you to feel comfortable enough to leave your job?
If you have your back against the wall right now, meaning you got financial troubles or you don't like your job or your situation, I think that is a powerful tool to push you forward. There are 5 levels that you travel through to reach financial independence.
Okay, let's talk about the FU Fund. Hey everyone, welcome to the Coffee No Cream podcast. My name is Erin Braxton and I am the host of Coffee No Cream. Here on Coffee No Cream, we are unapologetically dedicated to Black women, and we share what I like to call Coffee No Cream moments, those things that happen to us Black women in business and in life just because we are Black women. Today I have Jamila Souffrant. She is the creator of the Journey to Launch podcast. She has also written the book Journey to Launch and the book Journey to Financial Freedom. I have been wanting to have a financial expert on here for us for a while. And Jamila just talks about how she was able to leave corporate America and find financial freedom through her podcasting, through her passion, through documenting her journey to being financially free. We talk about creating not only an emergency fund, but an FU fund, which I love. And it's just a fun conversation. So if you are looking for financial freedom, as I'm sure most of you are, I know I am still, you'll definitely want to stick around for this episode. For those who haven't already, please subscribe to the podcast. Please share this to those who you feel might find value in it. The Facebook group link is below. We've got almost 2,000 free resources, coffeenocream.com/free. And that's it. So I will see you in the episode. Okay, Jamila, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. How are you today?
Thank you for having me, Erin. I'm excited to chat with you. I'm good.
I'm excited too. I hear you. I hear that accent coming through. I hear it. I hear Brooklyn. So I've really been wanting to have a financial expert on for a while now. So when I reached out to you and you were so gracious in wanting to come on, I was just like, oh, I'm so excited. So let's just start from the beginning. Okay. So you were born in Jamaica. Am I correct?
Yes.
And raised
in Jamaica. Yes.
Yes. I have a lot of Jamaicans that have been on Coffee No Cream. It's incredible. Anyway. So you're raised in Brooklyn. Tell me, did financial freedom, was that even a thing discussed in your household growing up? Was that a thing?
No, I mean, so I believe like many immigrants and people raised with limited resources or by a single mom, so I was raised by a single mom, that you discover the importance of money with the lack of it or just the resourcefulness of your family. And so I came here when I was about a little under 2 years old, and my mom was pretty young when she had me. And so while she didn't really impart, I would say this, I learned about saving and making a dollar stretch from my mom and grandmother because I did have a bank account. I remember my mom taking me to open my first savings account at about 5 or 6 years old. And
That's
my
amazing.
grandmother, who came here to this country, also she had to work. She worked as a nanny, and my mom worked minimum wage jobs before she started to get her degree. And it was always, you save something. You say, even if you only bring home $1 and you save a penny, you have to save what you're earning. And so that's something that was instilled in me. But otherwise, the idea of money or investing and becoming financially free wasn't something I discovered until later in my working years and started to implement what I do now.
Okay, so tell us about the beginning of your blog and how that kind of came about. And, it turned into obviously so much more, but tell us about it.
Yeah, so I started Journey to Launch and it was actually called Mrs. Frugal Fab at first. So it was like a blog, a WordPress blog. And quickly I decided I didn't want to be known for being frugal and I wanted to change the name. So I just came up with Journey to Launch. And it started more out of my discovery of the FIRE movement. So the Financial Independence Retire Early movement, known as FIRE. And I was working at a job that paid well. I was in my kind of late 20s, early 30s, and I was working in corporate America. I had a very long commute from Brooklyn to New Jersey. It was about an hour and a half, and then grew to almost 2 hours one way driving.
Wow.
And I realized, and this is something I knew when I was young and even started when I started to work, was that I did not want to work in a corporate office forever. I didn't want to be stuck to like the corporate handcuffs and to a paycheck. I knew I wanted freedom. I always felt that. I just didn't know that that was possible. I thought you had to work and you had to work until you retirement age, and that was the way things were. And as I started to kind of climb the ranks a little bit in my job and make some more money, my commute got worse. And I was just like, wait a second, is this going to be my life?
Yeah.
And what really kicked it into gear was getting pregnant. So I got married, got pregnant, and it was with my first son. I was pregnant about 7-8 months. Big. My commute that time took 4 hours to get home. It was like a crazy day. It was like all the traffic gods were unpleased and just like anything that could happen happened. And it was from that, the desperation of I don't want this to be my life, because I knew I wanted more kids. I knew I just needed freedom. And so I started to Google how to quit my job, how just catchphrases that you hear that you don't know what it means.
Right.
Financial freedom. I was just putting words together, and I discovered blogs and podcasts from people who were saving and investing to be able to quit their jobs and retire early. And I was like, oh, wait a second, what is this? And so I just consumed all the content I could. And over time, it inspired me to start the blog, Journey to Launch, and then the podcast a year later to say, I'm going to reach financial independence. I want to one day quit my job and not have to work in a traditional environment anymore. And I'm going to document how I do that. And that was the impetus and the motivation for me to, one, look up how to reach freedom, and then to share my own journey, which then became my platform in which I help other people do the same thing.
So how long did it take from the time you started the blog to the time you left your job?
So I love this question because it shows the power of action and starting the journey to financial independence. So when I started Journey to Launch, I had a goal that I would reach financial independence, meaning quit my job and do what I wanted. So if I chose to work, I could, in 7 years. So at the time, I was 33 when I officially launched the podcast or the blog. And then I said by 40 years old, I'm going to be able to invest and save as a unit. So I have a husband. And at that time, I'm trying to think how many kids I had at that point. I have 3 kids total now. But so I started with the idea of 7 years of taking my income from this job. My husband has a job. We're going to aggressively save and invest for 7 years for me to be able to quit my job. And by the time I got pregnant with my third child, my daughter, in 2017, I realized that I did not want to wait till I was 40 years old. At that point, I was, I believe, around 35. So I had about 5 more years left. So that was a quick, actually, jump from me starting saying it's going to take me 7 years. Now I'm 2 years in saying I don't want to wait those 5 years. I'm 35 now, about to have my child. So how can I make this freedom happen sooner? And so I switched strategies where instead of investing and saving aggressively into our investment accounts, I saved into a FU fund, which we can talk about, and started to plot what it would look like if I left my job earlier than my design date, before I even had all the money in the world, but I had enough to take this leap into entrepreneurship and to also just having more flexibility in my life. So I was able to quit my job in 2018 and pursue Journey to Launch as a platform and business full time. But I made sure I had enough leeway, though, that if it didn't work, like, we'd be okay financially.
Okay, so before we talk to this FU fund, because I love it because when you say it, obviously we know immediately what you mean. And enough of us do not have this. And if we do have it, that's not what it's called. I think just the name alone is inspiration to build it and grow it, right?
Yeah. So this is the thing, like there's all these like concepts and ideas that, emergency fund, it's like an emergency fund times whatever. And everyone's emergency fund or FU fund can look different based on your expenses. Sure. But it was just really important that when I started the journey, like I didn't know, I thought it would take me the full 7 years to reach where I needed to reach. And it happened a lot sooner because I just started. And so the things that we did as a family unit to put ourselves in a position to take advantage of being able to go out on maternity leave and not go back after my third child and save like those, if I did not discover financial independence or do the things like pay off all the debt that was left over, invest aggressively for 2 years. So in the 2 years that I started Journey to Launch and then quit, we had invested and saved $169,000 across our retirement accounts, investment accounts, and savings accounts. So because we did that, we had a nice foundation to leap off into for me to be able to quit my job.
Okay, so you said you saved $169,000. That sounds unfathomable to people right now when you say that, okay? So I want to ask you, you saved aggressively, you invested aggressively, but when you started the blog, and then we need to weave in at what point the podcast started, where was the money coming from in that was allowing you to feel comfortable enough to leave your job? Because things have changed, obviously, since you got going, and everybody's out here on a microphone like me, on the camera, doing videos and things like that. So where was the money coming from for you at that time?
So Journey to Launch wasn't making any money at all at that time. So and I always like to say everything is in perspective and relevant to your current situation. So my husband and I, we live in New York City. I had a 6-figure job. My husband has a 6-figure job. So, we were able, there's no way we would be able to save and invest that much in 2 years without the income to support that. So I do want to just clear that, right? For some people who don't earn 6 figures, that might not be even possible depending on their expenses. So for us, though, we definitely were not optimizing or saving or investing and doing anything close to that before that time. We were just kind of letting the money come in and living life. We had luxury cars. We weren't really budgeting. We weren't taking advantage of tax advantage retirement accounts. And when I discovered the powerfulness of compound interest and investing, I was just like, we need to set this up so that we can have our retirement accounts and investment accounts grow to where we're going to be comfortable. And our jobs allowed us to then pay off the debt, to invest and save. Like all that came from our primary jobs. And it did take some sacrifice. We did have to change things up. But in terms of like the saving and investing, majority of that went into our retirement and investing accounts. And then we also saved in the FU fund. Once I realized that I wasn't wanting to come back to work after giving birth, we put a majority of that money in. We actually switched strategies. So instead of when I realized that I was going to quit, a lot of that money that would go to the investment accounts went to our savings account. So that way, when I did quit and Journey to Launch was not making money, there was a runway where I could relax a bit because my husband was still working. We have health insurance through him. So there are a lot of positive aspects that allowed that to happen. But his income doesn't take care of all of our expenses. And this is now our third child in New York City. Yeah. And we own our home. So it was really important for me to make sure that, and I was leaving the higher paying job, the one that had more potential for more money over time. Yeah. And so to save that up, it was to make sure that, calculate how much it would take to help supplement my husband's income to cover our expenses, and how long would that be? And when I calculated it, it was about a 2-year runway. So it was 2 years that I would have to figure things out, whether that was through Journey to Launch, seeing if I can make money from it, or maybe at the end of it, it was like, you need to go get a job because our expenses are not supported by the income. So that was the thought process. And it was really through saving and investing that I was able to take the leap.
So what did you do? So you said Journey to Launch wasn't making any money. You're like, I don't want to go back to work. So how did you make it happen?
I will say that I think timing is everything. I think when I quit and this was in 2018, and it's so interesting because I'm sure there are people watching who think that's too late for me to start. Like everyone's already doing something,
Yeah.
podcasts,
Yeah.
YouTube. When I started, like there were people doing this, like years in the game. So it almost felt like this is too late for me to start. Like how can I be successful? There's other people talking about this. But for me, I saw the potential because I started to become online friends and make connections with people who were doing this full time. And I think seeing it and seeing the example is really important because if I didn't see that up close, like become friends with like people who are kind of at my level a little bit above me, but that were they weren't
Yeah.
like earning a lot of money, but they were earning something was inspirational. And
Sure.
so I started to see where could I make money? Like these people, even if I wasn't close to them, I started to kind of join groups and go to conferences. One was FinCon, which is literally just for people who make personal finance content and then make, a career out of it or money out of it. And I started to see this is possible for me. And I created kind of just these pathways of, okay, the podcast is a great just
Marketing tool.
platform.
Yeah.
And I know I could eventually make money from this, whether it's through ads or brand partnerships. So that was what really made me believe I can do it. And then I started to ramp that up as I had more time after I gave birth, after recovering, focusing on the business and growing the platform, Journey to Launch and the podcast to be able to bring in money.
For people you said who are watching now and they feel like there's already somebody doing it. There's too much do What do you say? Cuz do you feel like this world is oversaturated? I mean, it's easy to get that in your head because there is a lot of it is so different, you know what I'm saying? And then when you're
It is.
scrolling and you're watching and you're just like, oh my God, look at them and they've got this many likes and I don't have that. And oh my God, talk about that.
I think it's a valid concern. I think if I was starting today, I would feel the same. But back when I started, it was similar. Maybe it was different challenges and different platforms that were big and that you had to enter. But I would say this. I think what rings true today, no matter how many people are online doing what you want to do, is that I think I was successful because I was vulnerable, especially in the beginning. Like I shared my numbers, I shared my story, and most of the people who followed me back then, and even now, but definitely back then when I did a lot more. I did a lot back then to push
Yeah, yeah.
Journey to Launch, and now I'm kind of more chill about it. So I don't even know if I would survive today with the kind of content some people have to kind of put out and perform. But I think that being yourself, and it sounds so cliche, being yourself, being vulnerable is the key to success and being consistent. So the
Yeah.
thing is, I have this podcast now. It started in 2017. So the blog was 2016. The podcast, the first episode came out in 2017. And I put out an episode every week for the past 9 years. I've had reruns of older episodes. I typically do that in the summer as my kids have gotten a little bit older and are out of school. But if I wasn't consistent, if I would have gave up, I wouldn't have been able to do what I've been able to do all this time with Journey to Launch. So I think it's valid, but I do think that there is a space for you if you're able to show up truly as yourself, not performative, and to share something because whatever you're going through, someone else can relate to. And really what I want to see, even from people I look at now, is just like, are you being real? And it's hard to sometimes discern that online, but I do think people can feel and connect when you are being
Yeah.
real. And that's what has helped me. So I think if you lead with that and something that you can help people with as you're learning, even if you don't have it all figured out, you can be successful in any space.
Yeah, I think the authenticity part is huge. Consistency is huge as well, but you have to be able to connect. And I even had a friend tell me you're too vulnerable. I couldn't do it, but it's freeing, right? I think it's
Yeah, I mean, so many people do want to connect. And again, I think where I am now with my stage of life, the kind of responsibilities I have with my kids are of school age, you know, I do think my energy level has depleted in terms of how much I want to put into the business and share versus before, which is I think the beauty of if you have your back against the wall right now, meaning you got financial troubles or you don't like your job or your situation, I think that is a powerful tool to push you forward. Because when I was feeling that way, and was ready to do something about it, like I was all in doing all I could to find a way out so that I could have the freedom that I have today.
Yeah.
And now that I do have the freedom I have today, I'm a little bit more relaxed. I'm not as scrappy.
Yeah.
So I love when I think about, and I love this version of me too, but I love that scrappy version of me 9, 10 years ago when I was trying to figure this out. So I always just encourage people, if you're feeling that way, use it as fuel to figure things out and start to do something to get motivated. Because being vulnerable is just like a tool that can get you somewhere else where you can be in a better place.
Have you had waves of like energy surges? Because, 9 years is a long time. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes you're like, go, 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 go. And you might see some dip and then you have to push it back out hard. Have you had that?
Oh, of course. I feel like I'm definitely going through that now, where I'm figuring out what I want to do. So my book, Your Journey to Financial Freedom, it came out in 2023.
Okay.
And since then, it's been selling well. It's been helpful. People who have read it, there's so many resources in it it's been, I feel like, in terms of portfolio work, something that's been very important to me. Right. And now that that's out and kind of there, and I've been doing this for so long, I often think about what is next for me. Like, what does that evolution look like? And again, remembering the stage of life I'm in. So my kids right now are 12. They all had birthdays. So 12, 10, and 8. And so they're not as dependent as toddlers, but they still need me for a lot. And we do a lot.
Very busy time.
And I am one of those moms, if you tell me, my kid tells me they're interested in something random, like we're going to find it, we're going to do it. And so I find that a lot of my energy now is emotionally, mentally, it's like doing that, which I'm happy to do, right? And so it's not as much as it was when I was focusing mostly on Journey to Launch and just trying to get through the day. So I definitely feel like I'm in that figuring things out, taking things slow, and this is the benefit of financial freedom. So it helped me when I was thinking about quitting my job. We had money to help support that. It helps me now that Journey to Launch, like there were years where, I was making a lot of money. And for the past few years, I haven't been making as much. And it could be directly tied to how much I'm working, because honestly, I'm not working that much. Yeah. But because we set ourselves up financially where there is an FU fund, there's savings, there is a budget, I can kind of ride out this wave or this lull a bit and not. Of course, there's still some thoughts of, oh my gosh, we got to figure things out. But it's not as stressful as it would be if I did not have all the things in place that I teach when it comes to financial freedom.
Okay, let's talk about the FU fund. Let's talk about that versus saving versus retirement. Explain that to us and what that is. I mean, obviously, we're gonna tell people where to find you and get educated by you. But tell us, what is that?
Okay, so I'm going to go back, not starting from the FU fund, but I think it's helpful to maybe talk about the stages of the financial independence journey, the way I break it down. I try to break things down into frameworks that I can understand or hopefully can help other people understand. And so there are 5 levels that you travel through to reach financial independence. And when I say financial independence, it means the ability to not have to work actively again. Like you choose if you work because you have enough money in your investment accounts, saving, retirement accounts, or through an income stream, passive income that supports your expenses. So complete financial independence. To get there is that, I mean, when I tell people that, they're like, okay, so like that's never happening, but no, there's 5 levels to go through where you unlock freedom each step of the way. Okay. So the first level, I call it the explorer. Well, I call it the level where you're getting out of debt. So this is the explorer level where maybe your expenses are more than your income and you cannot support maybe your current lifestyle. And so you got to just get to stability. That is the goal in this stage. Then the next stage, once you get to stability, where you're able to pay for your expenses with your income, is the cadet stage. I call it you working to get debt-free, consumer debt-free. So that means getting rid of the high interest rate credit cards or any other debt that you should get rid of because you're paying more for having it and holding on to it. I don't include mortgages or student loans really in that category just because typically they can be huge and they're lower interest rates. Right. That's that second stage. The third stage is the aviator stage where you're working on financial security. So just to give you context, when I found out about the FIRE movement, I was in the cadet stage. I still had some debt. And I quickly was able to move into the aviator stage of working on financial security because I had the income to support that. So I was able to pay off my debt once I understood how that worked and focused all of our extra money when we had our budget on investing and saving. And that's where the FU fund comes in. So it's part of working on financial security as you're investing for your retirement and for early financial independence. Then you can start to ramp up your savings. You can start, so that way if you need to leave a situation, you have some runway for that. The next stage, this is the stage I'm actually currently in, is the commander stage. So this is a stage where you have work flexibility. It doesn't mean you never work again. It doesn't mean you have all the money in the world, but you have enough runway or financial security to help support your decisions and how much you work. And then the ultimate stage is that stage 5, captain stage. That's where you completely are financially independent and working really is just a choice. You don't have to do it if you want. So I like to just break it down for people in that way because I think usually quickly you can kind of discern where you are. And then there are things within those stages that you focus on. And so if you are at a level where you paid off your consumer debt, you have an emergency fund of 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, then that's when you would move to the aviator stage and work on an FU fund, which is like, okay, I have my basics down. Now I need to figure out or save enough so that if I do want to quit a job or make a career change, I have enough money to be able to do that.
So the FU fund would be, you said the emergency fund is 3 to 6 months, and FU fund would be how?
So it depends. It can be 6 to 12 months. Mm-hmm. It could be all dependent too on a bunch of factors. So for me, I'm actually risk adverse. Like I like to make calculated risk choices. And so even though my husband was working, I just wanted to make sure we had enough runway. So I wanted to have more than probably maybe someone who could have had less and would have quit. I wanted to have more, right? So I think it depends on your risk tolerance. There are some people who feel comfortable with, 4 months worth of expenses, and that's what they consider the FU fund. So it's all going to be relative, but essentially you're going to need all your expenses, especially the bare minimum expenses of what you need to cover in a savings account. A high yield fund is typically where you'd want to save it because you get better return. Sure. And then be able to pull from that in case you need it or to make that jump or whatever change you're looking to make.
So, and then during that whole FU period where you're in the FU fund, like say you're using
saving,
the FU fund.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, you said FU and you're in the FU.
Right, and you're done.
Part.
Yeah, you jump. Yeah.
Are you still saving and investing? Is that included in the FU fund?
No, so that's really good good point because no. So for me, when we switched and I realized I wanted to quit my job, we diverted all of the money we would have put into saving and investing into the retirement accounts into the FU fund.
Okay.
And then once I did quit, we were no longer saving and investing or putting money into any savings account. At this point now, which is this is what the FU fund is for. This is what emergency savings are for. But now you begin to draw from it when you need it to cover your expenses. So we were in a period of a drawdown of the FU fund until I was able to start earning some money to help support the expenses again.
Okay. Let's talk about being a Black woman in this community because you're a Black woman, obviously. So most of the time, and we're seeing, and I've researched a lot of Black women in finance just for the sake of this podcast, but predominantly white community. How do you feel being a Black woman so successful in this community? And do you feel like your role is for everyone, or are you primarily focused on helping Black women? Or are you just for everyone?
So I think it's so interesting, the dynamics of, so now that I'm in this space, I know so many Black women doing this.
Yeah.
Who are at a successful level, like whether it's the Budgetnista or Nasima from
I
Financially
know her.
Intentional.
Yeah.
Right. Like I can give you a list
Yeah.
of amazing Black content creators who, you know, are like just doing their thing and maybe have different just focuses.
Sure.
Right. And so sometimes I do think, like, if you're not in the space, if you're like new to being interested in personal finance, maybe like the people who are pushed more by media in some regards, you don't see yourself. But once you kind of dig deep, there's so many of us and so many, and you know, you get into the algorithm and you start finding more people who look like us. Yeah. You know, I would say this, I'm the kind of person where I learn from everyone. So I learned about the FIRE movement. It's like, and this is why I also think I became successful, because there were not a lot of Black female voices in the space. The blogs that I was listening to, the interviews I heard were mostly white men or women. And I was just like, where's my people? And the moments that I heard, like, stories of like Black women, Black people on the podcast or in a blog, I was like, there it is, like a reflection of myself. And when I started the podcast, I think that's what made me stand out, because I was like, listen, I learn from everyone. If you can get something from it, it's for you too. But here is my perspective as, you know, a immigrant child born here but raised in Brooklyn, how I'm doing things, and hopefully you can learn and be inspired by this too. So I don't reject anyone who wants to learn from me, but sure. I definitely feel like I help and I speak to and benefit you know, Black women in the space, because they can relate so much to whether it's the way I talk or my experiences or just the way I am down to earth in what I do.
I think where you're heading, your path is where a lot of women would love to be. A lot of Black women would love to be. And I've watched the Budgetnista. She's the one, correct me if I'm wrong, focuses on tax strategy, right? Isn't that? No.
So, I mean, she does some of that, but she was a elementary school teacher,
okay,
or preschool teacher, and I mean, her following is huge. So I'm sure, like, someone, when you put this out, they were like, yeah, we know Tiffany the Budgetnista, okay. But there's different people. So I don't know if she talks about that, but that's not primarily her thing.
There's somebody I was watching, and I thought it was her, and she's East Coast, because you can hear it, and she focuses on, and maybe it was the money East, maybe it's something Easta, but yeah. It was tax strategy for sure. But maybe it's not her. Okay, I'm wrong then. I'm wrong. Okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many, though. There are so many people in the space. And that's why with my platform, where I do have a mix of guests, but I love to introduce my audience to people, and just like kind of create that network of, hey, here, like, you don't have to just learn from me. There are other perspectives, other way to do things, or the voices that you may relate better to or just learn from.
Yeah, because this is so key. This is, you know, what you do is so key, and it's so important. Tell me one of the most difficult things it was for you and your husband to give up while you were in that, was it the cadet stage where you were working?
Yeah, paying off debt.
Yeah.
So I'll just start with this, that I think a lot of people have more money or more leverage than they think. So yes, there is the case that some people, like, they literally are not earning enough to pay for their expenses. Like, they're not working jobs where they get paid enough. But I think in a lot of regards, there are people who are earning money, but just not managing it well for whatever reason. And stress and life can make that harder for you. And so for us, what I realized when I started to listen to the podcast on my commute, so I turned my commute into like my learning center, right? So those 2 hours became, I'm going to learn everything I can. And I would hear from people who were dumpster diving to save money on food. And I was like, ooh, I don't want to do that. But that's an extreme where it's like, where can I, like, I don't want to do that, but where's like the level where I can be more thoughtful? Sure. Or people who were like, I'm going to giving up my luxury vehicle and lease to have a reliable car, because that's $700 in payments I can take back, right? So these are things that I was learning. And then I came home and told my husband, like, hey, what do you think of changing things a bit so that we can live a better life, not just in the future, but eventually, like, sooner than later. And so that looked like creating a budget, really seeing where our money was going, like where were the leaks. And also with the retirement accounts, those come out, well, the pre-tax retirement accounts, those come out before taxes. And so you essentially save money on taxes when you put money into those accounts. And so you're taxed less, but then you're able to save for the future. So and I did like the calculations of, okay, instead of putting nothing or minimum amounts to our 401k, if we were to max out our 401k, what does that look like? How much does that reduce our check by? And doing that calculation would say, okay, so that means how much do we need to reduce this expense by? So whether maybe that's going out to eat, maybe that's not taking vacations. And that did look like giving up our luxury cars. I owned my car, my husband leased his car, and then we got rid of that to buy more reliable cars that we still have today.
Yeah.
It was just being more strict on our budget, looking at the line items and seeing where we could cut to make those changes so that we could save as much as we were saving back then.
Yeah, I'm sure you talk about this more in your programs, but I'm hearing about different insurance products that are better than retirement accounts and things like that. So it's just like, it's so much information. It's like overwhelming.
Yeah. Well, I just want everyone to listen, the basics are fine. The basics meaning first, just figure out where your money is going.
Mm-hmm.
And budget. What is that budget? It really is just telling your money what to do and being in charge of it instead of like it just coming out of your account and you're just like, I don't have anything left. And when I switched, so most people, and I used to think about money this way too, you get your check, you pay all your expenses, everything comes out, and then you look at what you can do, save or pay down debt afterwards. And I switched it to say, here's my income. The first priorities are the mandatory expenses, so the things we need to survive, the mortgage, the grocery bill, the gas. But after that, it's going to be how much can we save and invest aggressively, pay down debt. And then what's left after that, that's for all the discretionary things like going out, if there's anything left over, vacation. But I'm really focused on financial goals first. So I think going back to the basics of getting a budget, paying down your high interest rate debt, and investing in your retirement account goes a long way. And I think it often gets overcomplicated and we get tricked or bamboozled, honestly, to trying to skip steps because we want to make up for lost time, because we are told, which is true, like we are behind as a community in saving and in the race to wealth. But I think we also then preyed upon to skip things and to try to go faster. And then we get reeled into scams because we don't want to do the basics. And the basics are what got me to be able to quit my job earlier than I thought. And so that's why I continue to say, start, even if it's small, and do the basics. You'd be surprised how further along you'll get by doing that.
And that just leads me to my final question, because I know you got to go. I
got a couple more minutes. I can do until 2:05 if you want.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't making enough money, for people who don't have a dual 6-figure income in their household, how do you encourage them? Would it be the same steps? How do you encourage them? Because if they feel like they can't even move, it's just like, I paid the rent, I paid the bills, I have enough to eat, and I don't have anything left over.
Yeah, that's real for many people.
Yeah.
And it was real for my mom when she was a single mom on minimum wage. And, I can speak to what she did and what I know the people who have made a way for themselves do. I think, one, give yourself grace. You don't have to save half your income or a quarter of it in that scenario. Your goal is to make sure that you're not spending more than you're bringing in, which can be pretty hard if you're not bringing in enough. But give yourself grace for that. I always want to start there. And then the other thing is to look for ways to increase income over time. It might not be something that happens immediately. So for someone like my mom, who was only 20 when she had me, and then also immigrated here when she was pretty young, she had to go back to school slowly over time to get her degree while she was working. And I know sometimes that feels like, well, I need relief now.
Yeah.
I need freedom now, and I get that. And that's why I encourage Jill just the steps of starting some of those little things, like looking up, okay, if I'm working in this job, is it the maximum that I can make in this job? What courses or skill sets can I acquire in my free time to help maybe put me at the edge to get a new job or to move up the ranks? What skill sets do I have outside of this job that have nothing to do with this job that I can do on the side? And again, some of those things might take some time. Some of it could be quicker wins, right? Like even if it's selling something, things in your house you don't need or are not as important anymore, get some quick money wins in there. But I think that there's a way. I do think some people are so bogged down energy wise that they don't have the energy to think of that way. Yeah. But there is light there for you. I do really believe if you think you can, you can. If you think you can't, you can't. So for a lot of people outside of the situation, it is just like where they are emotionally and mentally, to be in a place to be able to want to take on that extra work. It's going to be extra work to earn more or to like look at that budget and to do something about your financial situation.
Yeah, I always encourage, I've been trying to encourage my viewers because, you know, we tend to see what we see online, and it seems like everybody's doing the same thing. Like they're making money consulting, which everybody cannot be. Everybody's not making the money consulting that they say they're making if they're really consulting, right? Or they're making, everybody says they have a course or a download or something. That might not be your thing, right? So, you know, as Black women, we've made money in every possible way in our history that you can imagine. So just trying to get them to lean into their creativity and their authenticity to figure out how it is they can make money if they're going to do a side hustle. I don't know if you've got any suggestions on how to come up with something. And, you know, because I think that's where a lot of people get stuck. They just don't know what they could possibly do. You know, they just, right. All they see is what everybody else is doing, and they don't see themselves as unique and being able to.
I mean, I talk about this in the book, Your Journey to Financial Freedom, but doing an inventory of your skill sets, things that people compliment you for, things that come easy to you. And you don't want to turn everything that's like, you know, a hobby or pleasurable into trying to make money, because sometimes that deletes the joy from it. Yeah. But there are many ways to make money, right? It's just the seeing it. And I do want to just go back. I think, if anything, I think mindset. So as personal finance educators, we typically do go to the action of the thing where, you know, you first think about a budget, right? Like sitting down, looking at your income and expenses, or trying to earn more money. All those things are necessary. But I talk about this like wealth formula where, yes, your income minus your expenses hopefully gives you a gap in which you can then use to reach your financial goals. But before you can do any of that, you have to want to and believe you can do that. You have to want to and believe you can earn more. You have to want to and believe you can and have the discipline to cut back on your expenses if necessary. And so if you already are at the point where you're just like, I can't do that, then it's not going to work for you. And so if you find yourself thinking that way, and maybe you have good reason, I'm one of those people where I'm like, all right, let's find a reason why it can work or how it can work. Not necessarily starting from, it's too late for you, it's never going to happen. No, how can this work for you? What is your mindset? What are some of the blocks you have about why you can't do this? Again, there's systematic and systemic things that have held us back and are holding us back from accomplishing things. But I also do feel like we have a lot more power than we know and believe. And once we can reclaim that and use that for our good, then we can make more progress than we think is possible.
Yeah, I think what you just said, and about if you think you can't do it, I think that's bigger. I think that's bigger than anything, because I have felt like that too in my situation. Like I have felt like that. Like, can I? Because money, just relationship with money, you know, it's tough.
Right, but why not you? And I think for me, this is like something that drives me. Mm-hmm. I am in many ways still learning. I'm not perfect with my money, still figuring things out. Again, these are things I share. I think that hopefully will help people feel like, and I'm not like I have an episode coming out, depending on when this comes out, that talks about uncertainty and sometimes just not having it all figured out. Even as far deep in as I've been, whether it's entrepreneurship or money, like on my journey. And I've still been able to reach this far. Again,
Yeah.
I've had privileges, which I don't deny, in terms of having a partner with insurance and an income. But I also had things that wouldn't seem, that I see as a privilege, that people like wasn't necessarily an advantage, but I see it as an advantage, right? And so I just think it's how you perceive things. It's your perspective on life that helps you get through it. But one thing that I always think to myself is, why not me? Like, if someone else is able, if you can see someone else doing something, why can't you do it too, if that's what you want? Mm-hmm. And sometimes we're not ready. Sometimes we're not ready to take on that challenge and to become a different version of ourselves. Yeah. And if you're not ready, that's okay. Hopefully you get ready. Maybe the pain of that commute, growing my family, like, I was ready. I had to figure something out, and I was not going to stop until I figured it out. And so that was my motivation to make things better for myself and to be where I am today.
You hit your breaking point, and then you're just like, okay, look, I guess something's got to give.
I'm not going to keep complaining about this. Like, I got to do something about this.
Well, let everybody know where they can find you, your podcast, the book, your courses, all of that. Because this is, I'm like, ooh, maybe I need to sign up myself. So
yeah. Well, so you can check out my podcast, Journey to Launch, on Apple Podcasts. It's wherever podcasts are played. I know most people are watching you on YouTube. I do have a YouTube channel. It's not as nice as Erin's, but you can check it out. But mostly the podcast and episodes also go to YouTube. And then also my site, journeytolaunch.com. You can find more information about any of my offerings. And then also I'm at Journey to Launch on Instagram and at Jamila Souffrant on Instagram. And then lastly, my book, Your Journey to Financial Freedom, is sold wherever books are sold. Pick it up from your favorite Black bookstore or independent bookstore. And you can go to yourjourneytofinancialfreedom.com. I have some free resources that come with the book, and start there. I think there's so many free resources online. And then also some just, I think, low cost things that you can do to help yourself and to motivate. So hopefully you check all those things out.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been great. We might have to have you back and get into something a little deeper.
Yeah.
The subjects evolve, you know what I'm saying? We'll see. But I know this has been a struggle for me and my history. They watching know I've been through every financial failure there has to be. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and pulling myself out of it. So I definitely wanted to touch on this. So when I learned about you, I knew you were going to be good. So
let's chat again.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And check out Jamila's information. All of it is below. And we'll see you in the next video.